Tournament is molded from familiar elements borrowed from a slew of old favorites. It endeavors to please Pokémon and Tekken fans while also appealing to fighting genre enthusiasts. Its broad range of influences creates a wholly unique experience. The most notable innovation in this genre hybrid is the shifting field of battle. Pokémon battles transition back and forth between this field phase, which is heavy on projectiles and positioning, and the more traditional fighting game style duel phase, depending on your actions. A stiff blow in field phase activates duel phase, allowing bursts of damage. Completing a lethal combo in duel phase might shift the action back to field phase, where Pokémon can sidestep and dodge arrays of laser beams and torrents of fire. These shifts help you layer strategy onto the frantic action, giving you pause to consider your next attacks and the way they will manipulate the flow of battle. The 16 Pokémon roster contains a nice mixture of old mainstays and new faces. While it would be impossible to include everyone's favorites, the 16 Pokémon lineup represents the series' long history well. Pokkén Tournament faithfully translates the turn-based RPG fighters into real-time combatants with mechanics that feel appropriate for their well-known designs. Machamp, for instance, stomps towards his foes, seeking to get close and dole out staggering blows or to grab defensive opponents for even more damage. And Gengar manufactures mix-ups with the use of misdirection, forcing opponents to guess whether he'll attack from above, from behind, or from below. The art style seems right at home in the Pokémon universe, while also lending an edge to the visuals to make the action a good fit for a brawler. The sounds and the music fit just as well as the graphics, with new takes on Pokémon soundtrack classics alongside original high-energy compositions. The catch is that this is a more complex fighting game than most. Loading Pokkén Tournament's tutorial modes immediately illustrates its tsunami of ideas, from actions specific to Pokkén Tournament to advanced fighting game concepts. A narrated guide on phase shifts, synergy gauge, support gauge, wall combos, wall burst, cancels, and guard breaks made me feel like I was sitting through a school lecture. Thankfully, Pokkén Tournament's single-player content eases you into the action. Leagues of CPU-controlled Pokémon trainers can be challenged, feeding into promotion matches that grant access to leagues populated by more skilled trainers with formidable AI. After spending a few hours playing single-player modes, I found myself becoming comfortable with its more advanced techniques. However, even armed with years of fighting game experience as well as hundreds of practice battles in single-player leagues and training modes, I found myself sometimes overwhelmed managing the multitude of mechanics on hand. Even for a fighting game, Pokkén Tournament feels overcomplicated. Pre-release online multiplayer had little in the way of latency, and even with a low population of players at the time of this review, matches were made quickly. Netplay features two modes, friendly and ranked matches, and they are similar to the casual and ranked modes we've seen in games like Street Fighter V. Being able to jump into my next battle with minimal waiting was a refreshing change of pace. Pokkén Tournament takes a lot of what we know from old fighting game favorites and sticks it into a blender, delivering a unique take on both Pokémon and on fighting games in general. Sometimes all those ingredients spill over a container that's a little too full, and that may alienate some Pokémon fans without fighting game experience. But Pokkén Tournament does do a good job with single-player modes to help ease you into the action. For more on all things Pokémon, stick with IGN.